A senator from California is just 8 days away from finding out whether she'll be the next vice president of the United States. Kamala Harris has already made history as the first woman of color to seek the second highest office in the land. News 13's Frank Crocker talked with a local activist who blazed the trail before her.
Little brown and black girls can look at her and say, she looks like me.
Sitting near the foot of the statue she raised money to place here at the park, Martin Luther King Jr. Association of Asheville and Buncombe County President Oralene Simmons talks about VP candidate Kamala Harris.
I understand that her motto comes from her mother, and it says, you can be first, just don't be last.
Oralene was certainly not the last, the great-granddaughter of a slave held as collateral on a loan to build Mars Hill College. 105 years later, in the early 60s, Simmons became the first African-American to attend that same school.
I never want any student here to walk that rocky road.
Fast forward to 2020, still an activist, speaking during a protest at Mars Hill after the police killing of George Floyd.
I love our young leaders.
Simmons is a big fan of the woman she believes brings strength and energy to the Biden campaign, the perfect candidate in the battle for social justice for all.
We can look for those things within Kamala, and I think that she would be a voice for the voiceless. I certainly do see her as being a person for that pivotal moment and keeping Dr. King's dream alive, and that she is a rising star.
A star Oralene believes will rise to even greater heights.
I see her as being president. I see her as cracking that highest glass ceiling in politics and making the dreams come true for so many people. I've been somebody there in the trenches that was able to move forward, and I see her moving forward today.
In Asheville, Frank Crocker.
And it is my hope that it's moving to the White House.
News 13.
The pandemic is forcing a lot of thinking outside the box. That includes attracting visitors to our mountains. News 13's Rex Hodge reports on Haywood County's different marketing strategy underway right now that's actually working.
During the pandemic, the Visitor Center is promoting an Embrace the Unusual campaign, letting folks know they can come to places like this, enjoy the great outdoors, and still keep a lot of social distancing. The marketing video says, ditch the fake Zoom background, embrace unusual. Annette and Tim LaRue made the trek from the Carolina coast.
Not hibernating.
Plenty, they say, to enjoy in our mountains.
The fall, the leaves, the scenery, hiking.
Plus, it's my wife's birthday tomorrow.
We have our own little cabin that we rented that was very clean, and we're wearing our mask and eating outside when we can.
Tourism leaders say this area works as an escape on many fronts.
Wide open spaces, if you're working remotely or if you're e-learning, what better place to do that than in the mountains of North Carolina?
The mountains build as a drivable destination for many in surrounding states, even Florida.
We're also seeing atypical people from Texas, Alabama, and New York.
Ashley Rice says pandemic protocols are in place.
Making people feel secure in this location is definitely a plus.
You go online, everything is, hey, we're friendly, we're clean, come on, and everybody's been great.
The Ehrenholtz celebrating an anniversary.
We're doing our part, wearing our mask and keeping our distance. There's no reason we can't enjoy all this.
Summer visitation numbers good. August numbers better than last summer.
It's definitely something we didn't predict or see coming.
And now an expectation that fall numbers will set records.
We do have a good feeling about it.
The town of Maggie Valley erecting a giant ski town sign that will light up soon. Rice says the reconfiguration of travel bodes well for the Cataloochee ski area.
Having reservations about flying, they're anticipating a good year.
Tourism leaders say they'll keep that Embrace the Unusual campaign going right through the winter and spring.
Work is underway to identify Asheville City streets named after local slave owners, with the intent of renaming them after historical local black leaders. News 13's Karen Wynn found out how the process might be much harder than many imagine.
Merriman Avenue is one city street named after a local slave owner. City planners say the issue is over 100 other streets could fall into this category, making the renaming process long and very costly. Asheville Services Development Director Ben Woody says he and the African American Heritage Commission are very early in the process of renaming some Asheville streets. They researched the Buncombe County slave deed records at the Register of Deeds office and cross-referenced the owners' names with city streets. Still, plenty of questions remain, such as with Lee Street.
There were Lees in Buncombe County that were slaveholders. But again, we don't know if the genesis of the Lee Street that we now know, if that was named, it could have been named after the slaveholders, but just equally so, it could have been named after a positive community figure.
In addition to the research, Woody says the renaming process will be costly when it comes to things like getting emergency services personnel reoriented.
There can also be costs associated not only with changing, the sign and things like that, but also if you're an effective property owner on that street, you may have to change your addresses, your branding for your business.
It's yet to be determined how many streets are going to be renamed. Woody says that's where Asheville residents come in. On the city website, there's a project page for community input where people can email questions and comments. Woody says the 9-person African American Heritage Commission will work on coming up with a group of historical local black leaders to rename the streets after. He also put out a call for any local historians to reach out and help with the renaming process. Woody says the renaming process is not likely to seriously begin until after a decision is made on the Vance Monument in late November.